We're on episode 7 with my very good friend Aya.
Hi guys.
Aya is a very, very good friend of mine. She lives in New York. So this is another kind of, what do you call it? Overseas
Catch
uh,
up
catch
situation.
up, small talk.
I'm Aya and I've known Henkel since like 2012. It was first year of OCAD. I believe we were introduced by our mutual friend Ferris. It was like Halloween
Yes.
night or something like that. And in my mind, I'm like, how did Ferris know about you before I knew about you? I was like, there was a little
I think it
level
was
of
Gem. Wasn't it Gem?
it was through Jam. Yeah, but
Yeah.
still, I felt like low key jealous. I'm like, how did I not meet these girls with Paris met them? But whatever. Um, and now I'm living in New York. I moved here in September of 2018. So it's been 2 years and a bit. And I am currently managing a small gallery in the Lower East Side. And anyone who wants to join the art world, don't.
Oh, okay. Spicy.
Don't do it. Unless you were born into a family where the door's completely open for you, don't do it.
Interesting. Well,
Yeah,
we're going to go into that because that was actually one of my questions.
there's a lot to say about it.
Okay. All right. Well, you got that little short introduction from Aya herself. So you are in America and you've been in America and you've been living in America in 2020, or you lived in America in 2020. What
Yeah.
was that like? Because let's not forget, people, and I know we live in a very fast paced world now, but there was the election, there was the lead up to the election, and then there was the actual election, and then there was the aftermath of the election. There was like rise of racial violence against Black community and
Matter.
also, yeah, Black Lives Matter. Um, Now there's a lot of racial violence against Asian people. And then, all the riots, all the anti maskers, all the anti vaxxers. I mean, I'm not saying this is only America, obviously, but a lot of times when you go on Twitter, so much of it comes and it's American news. So, how was that like?
Honestly, there was the constant drama, Trump just yapping his mouth and saying fucking nonsense and doing
Mm-hmm.
fuck all.
Mm-hmm.
And that was another thing. I was like, it's too stressful. I'm not the type of person who feeds into the news. I feel like I should more so just as I get more and more involved in like the community and like what's going on in the United States, but it doesn't feed me. It doesn't fulfill me in any way. The energy, the fear that is already like you can feel it when you're walking around. It's too
Mm-hmm.
so I stayed away from the news, but I, got a couple of updates here and there. However, where I live, I face the Manhattan Bridge.
Mm.
And I spent a lot of time during the summer and during lockdown up on our roof because we didn't feel safe at the time. We didn't really know how strong the virus was. There were so many different results coming out. Like, are we
Yeah.
getting positively or is it negative, but a false positive? Like, we didn't really know. And so the safest thing was to stay at home and to enjoy the outdoors as best as I could. We were able to see the Black Lives Matter marches coming in from Brooklyn through the Manhattan Bridge into the city.
Mm.
So it would get to a point where we could hear the songs being sung and the people yelling and just basically it filled the air. It was really really intense. It was really incredible. And but it was obviously when the cops showed up,
Mm.
that's when it got really scary. Like the first march we saw into the city, we saw a bunch of people get arrested. They
Mm.
didn't do anything. There was no violence whatsoever.
Mm-hmm.
um, a couple of other nights, we saw policemen on their bikes like chasing people back into Brooklyn through the bridge. So me and some of our neighbors would be yelling at the protesters, being like, "Run!
Oh,
Cops are coming!"
oh my God, I love that.
Yeah, so we were a part of it, but it was. incredible to see how many voices started to become comfortable being heard, you
Mm,
know, and the support. I mean, I'm sure we can notice this now. It's died down. It's like that amp, that
yeah.
the fulfillment of like being a part of this really incredible movement.
Mhm.
It died down once the riots and the rants and the marches stopped. So,
Mhm.
but that's something that obviously needs to continue. You
Mhm.
know, supporting local businesses, POC owned businesses, businesses run by women, and that was, for me, that was educational because I wasn't able to like I the research came easy. It was like I wanted to go out of my way to figure out who I can support during these times.
Yeah.
And it was a good conversation to be had because as much as you were separate from it due to other reasons, you felt a part of it too.
Yeah, yeah. I agree with that.
It was it was triggering in the sense of how ignorant I actually was in regards to so many aspects of the Black Lives Matter movement, that there was multiple conversations about whether you want to continue choosing being ignorant and naive, or whether you want to take the next step forward and educate yourself, because you can be wrong, and
Mhm.
being wrong isn't an issue unless you want to remain wrong, unless
Mhm.
you don't want to be corrected, you want to
Mhm.
learn how to educate yourself and your frame of thinking, then it won't obviously benefit you. But I think in that regard, it was essential. Like I said, I stay away from the news, but I have so many friends who are people of color. I myself am a white passing person of color.
Mhm.
So it's like I have to check my privilege because I'm white passing, but I also
Mhm.
understand my culture and my history and how that intertwines with so many other cultures and histories and the traumas that follow that. So
Mhm.
it was, it still is, and it should continue to be so, a part of your everyday.
Yeah.
Check checking your privilege, understanding the right information, and why is it that we have to be sensitive in certain cases? You know, it's like other people are like, oh, I just can't express myself anymore. I'm like, no, you can, but you have to learn to express yourself correctly. You have to
Yeah.
learn to express yourself with respect to who you are talking about or what you're talking about and how that will affect the people listening.
Mhm.
You
I
know? So
agree.
it's it was eye-opening, and it's a conversation that hasn't ended. I mean, like, we're what, literally March 1st, the month of trauma of 2020. It's like
Yeah,
is
we've
upon us.
officially hit that 1 year mark, guys. Shit.
Yeah, it's going to be a reminder for so many people, and then as summer comes around, it's the same thing. But
Yeah. Um, so you've chosen to stay in New York City despite all this, despite all the kind of turbulence that, America and also New York was kind of an epicenter for the COVID outbreak. And, I've personally just seen on, because I watch YouTube quite a bit, some of my favorite YouTubers who live in New York City, a lot of them have moved out now. So
yeah,
have you thought about moving back home? Just for context, Aya is from Lebanon. She's Lebanese Palestinian.
yeah, I have actually, more so this year. um I've been debating whether I wanted to move back or not, but I think it's also one of the reasons why I've stayed, and one of the reasons why I've stayed at this job that I'm currently in through all the misery that I endure.
I'm so excited to get to that part.
It's just, I might be over dramatizing it, but at the end of the day, it's just how I'm feeling.
Mhm.
Regardless, um, I set a goal for myself. I set a goal for myself regarding discipline, regarding my work ethic. You know me, like I've bounced around from like internship to volunteer position to, like I haven't had a stable job for longer than a year. And that is something that I've always wanted to master, because it
Mm.
does require patience, it does require setting a goal, it does require like understanding where you need to put your focus and how you want to discipline yourself regarding the stress you endure, how is it that you want to balance like a personal and business lifestyle. So i'm I'm staying here right now because I haven't met that goal. And this
Mm.
is something that I'm really focused on. And it's probably the most focused I've been on anything in a very, very long time. So I'm not saying, like, I always gave myself like 4 years in New York. I never expected it to be a place I would call home for more than 5, 10 years.
Mhm.
Um, but New York has definitely broken me and like built me back up. Toronto
Mm.
never really had, Toronto did that more socially, but
Yeah.
this really did it for me. And it's been working out. Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not going to say that I'm, the happiest individual, but I'm also really fucking proud of myself. So I just try
Yes.
to weigh the options right now, because I could easily be like, I can quit. I'm really unhappy. This isn't doing it for me, whatever. But it's also COVID. I want to stay here a bit longer. I want to be able to have a job and keep the roof over my head, and yeah, like challenge myself. That's basically what I'm doing. And it's,
Wow.
wow.
Good on you. I'm so happy to hear that.
Well, I took a lot of easy routes. I took a lot of easy paths that like didn't complicate things for me. So, and now I'm doing the opposite, but it's really to like pave a clear path for my future, whatever that may be.
Well, I like that, you're going for it though, and you've set that goal and you're really working hard. Like you are working really hard. And I remember when you first got to New York, it was a really hard time for you. Like you struggled a lot. You felt, with loneliness, with kind of the job because you were kind of just doing the internship stuff and you weren't finding ways to kind of like really break through. So, I know how hard that was for you. So this is like exciting and totally, I hear what you're saying. Like you're sticking through because of all the work and all the hard blood, sweat, and tears that you put into it now. For many people moving to New York City, there's this kind of idea of like people go there to start new, to start fresh, to like build a new life, this new identity, create a new image because it's an opportunity with a blank slate, have a new career, and maybe have new relationship, new independence, whatever that is. Was that the same for you? Kind of this idea of like starting this new or building something new, kind of for yourself.
Totally. Yeah. I think that the starting new part, yeah, most definitely. It's nice. It's nice to um set an image or a goal for yourself, but as long as it doesn't conflict with who you are, who you like to be as a person.
Mm.
Um, and I became more honest with who I am, like without
Mm.
any regrets, without like denying that I can be quirky and awkward and like straightforward and blunt and maybe a bit uncomfortable. But
I love all those traits.
yeah, but for some reason it works for people. I don't know what to tell you. So but I always second guess myself because,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I didn't appreciate those quirks. I didn't appreciate those characteristics. And then coming here, it was more like, this is who I am. This is
Yeah.
who I'm trying to be. There's no like in between with this. This is what
Yeah.
you're getting from me.
Yeah.
And in that way, that was me starting anew. That was me like, okay, I want to be more honest to myself.
Yeah.
And New York gave that to me, which is really nice.
I saw that. I like saw that in you. I remember when you moved and even just like on social, but like apart from social. I mean, obviously even when we talked, I could feel it, but like I remember where you started like when you didn't do this before, you started being more vocal about things that you were passionate about and things that you like social causes that you cared a lot about and like just posting things or just speaking up about it.
Yeah.
And like it wasn't that you never spoke up about it in real life. You always were somebody who was very vocal and wanted to educate yourself on those important topics, but like you were now starting to put that stuff on your online presence. And I remember feeling honestly I was like very inspired by you because I remember thinking like there were things that I was personally like, I cared a lot about, and that I wanted to speak up about. But I felt like because of the people that knew me already or the people that were around me or this like image that I had now created in Toronto, that to say something or to do some
Yeah.
of those things to like advocate for certain things online, it would kind of like break that image for some reason. And it's like so dumb because like we're like regular, regular people. We're not like celebrities.
And I think that's what I'm noticing with our friend group, like through the last couple of years, is we're really shedding those um, preconceived expectations of who we once were to who we're becoming now. And
Hmm.
it's fucking awesome.
It's awesome. I totally agree. Well, let's dive into career because this is now the juicy stuff. Not really juicy, but like clearly we both off camera we were talking before we started recording this about how exhausted we both are in kind of our jobs
Yep.
recently or lately. So let's talk about that. For people who have no idea what a gallery manager does,
Yeah.
how would you describe your job?
Um, so I mean the title is relatively self-explanatory, but I basically manage all aspects of gallery function. So whether that means coordinating works that are coming in or out of the gallery, international shipping, domestic shipping, training staff, handling payroll, handling bills, dealing with clients, dealing with on-site and install, deinstall, scheduling with everything. Like I
Wow.
everything in terms like including social media and um, yeah. So I've dipped my toes in every aspect of the gallery business, and the best part is that I'm still being challenged. Once it gets to a point where I'm like, I've seen this, I've done this, I know how to do it like the back of my hand. I
Yeah.
don't see a point in continuing a position like that, or at least in that specific gallery. Oh, on top of it, I kind of not kind of I we do, on top of having a gallery in two different locations, one's a project space and one's an actual gallery space. um, we have a artist residency. So
Mm,
during the months of, I believe, like May through October,
mm-hmm.
I'm scheduling, between 50 to 70 artists within the coming months.
You do a lot. That's a
Yeah,
lot of stuff.
it's
Like
a lot.
ton of roles, ton of hats that you have to wear in that one role. So that's wow, I had no idea. You were saying that you were having you know, a bit of a difficult time with the job and um is that mainly due to the pandemic? Is it due to, just do you think the pandemic has kind of affected it or like at least being in quarantine and things like that or is it completely like apart from it?
No, quarantine, the pandemic has really affected the business. It's it goes through waves of like we're having a good month to not having a good month. We were closed for half of the year last year, so when we did reopen, it was kind of like playing catch up.
Mm.
So we were having really quick turnovers with different exhibitions, and you know, I was I was dealing with most of it on my own. So it was until fairly recently. But it also affected my mental health. Like for
Mm.
a good portion of 2020, I was okay. I didn't really, like I said, I was honestly enjoying my solitude and really being able to find a routine in a non-routine life that we're all leading.
Mhm.
But when it affects the business, when it affects your mental health, when it affects your will to really continue doing this, when you don't, like, you might not be seeing a drastic difference in the money you're making, but you could also, weigh that out with who you are as a person and who you've become.
It sounds like it's just a bunch of factors, playing into the stress and well, just by you explaining that role, there's a lot. Even in my position, I always feel like as an art director, we're expected to wear so many hats.
Yeah.
And this is something that I've talked about, not on here, but with my friends before. It's like we're expected to be a designer, we're expected to be a photographer, we're expected to be a director, we're expected to be a videographer, an illustrator, an animator, all those things. Just even in my job, I get frustrated with it. Not necessarily because it's not stuff I don't want to do, but just given the amount of time that usually people give you to do those things is
Yeah.
ridiculously short. So just thinking about I mean, your situation, it sounds like you have to do like 10 million things in a day.
I don't know about you, but like the job has also like affected me physically. Like I it's not something that I've like talked about with a lot of people, but
Mm.
I'm I have been a nail biter for a really long time, but it got to a point where I started pulling out my eyebrows because I was getting so stressed out. Like literally my left eyebrow, half of it was gone. I kept having to pencil it in.
Oh
I
my God.
stress basket just pulling out my hair. And at a certain point it got really bad. I remember doing it without even thinking at work. And I came home and there was a hole like separating my eyebrow into two parts. And I was like, this is getting so ridiculous. My mom told me, she was like, you need to find something else to take that attention away from your eyebrows and your nails. And I started using like these prayer beads, just like
Mm.
them, getting something to distract me. It's worked, but the job, the stress has affected my physical health also in the sense that I don't even think about eating when I'm at work. Like I'm so
Yeah.
focused at what I'm doing that I can actually feel my stomach eating itself, but I'm like, I can't even like remove my eyes from the computer or like
Yeah.
focus on the fact that my boss could call at any time and I'm sitting at work and I'm just like, I need to just do my work.
Yeah. No,
It's so fucked. It's so
I've
fucked.
had that too. My hair has fallen out more than it ever has. And people know I have like thick hair.
Yeah.
But I've definitely noticed it. Like literally my shower gets clogged like every time I shower. I have to unscrew the thing in
Yeah.
the tub, pull out all the hairs. It's ridiculous and it's all over my bed. It's all over my pillows. I've never had hair loss like this before. Um and this is something I've let some of my close friends know. I've never said it on here, but um I'm on antidepressants now. And that's not something I've ever been on before. There's so much expectation from this job, and there's this weird level of pressure when you're in this like corporate creative field, um, that it just feels like every time they put this like big brief on my to-do list, it's like this massive amount of pressure all of a sudden, and this like dark cloud sits on top of me, and it doesn't go away literally until the project is done. And normally that project takes a really long time, especially when they're big briefs, like months, because you have to go through, not just ideation, but production too. And all of that is a massive headache as well. So lately, it's like I needed something where I needed to be less depressed and less anxious and just more happy. And so my doctor, when she put me on the stuff, I learned that it just leaves more serotonin in your brain, or it keeps your serotonin levels at a more normal level. But yeah, I've been on it for a few weeks now. Luckily, I didn't have. Normally, when you first go on antidepressants, the first 2 weeks, they say, well, it depends on the type of antidepressant they put you on, because it's different for all kinds. And everybody also their body reacts completely differently. So, for the one that I got anyway, my doctor warned that, which is kind of like ironic, that you might have symptoms of more depression and like more suicidal thinking. So I was like, oh, that's great. That's exactly what I need to feel more of those things.
Yeah. But what's
Um,
the case?
Luckily, I did not. I didn't have those negative symptoms. And but also at the same time, when I started on the pills, one of the bigger briefs that I was having a lot of anxiety on was put on pause. The project was put on pause. And so I don't know if it was the meds or if it was work, but clearly work had a lot to do with it, because as soon as that was put on pause, it was like, oh, sunshine
Yeah,
in my
I know
mind.
too well.
Yeah, you're just like, fuck. But yeah, so physical changes for sure. I've definitely experienced that. And I feel what you're going through, because don't ruin your beautiful eyebrows.
I'm trying really hard to grow them back. Like I'm like brushing castor oil 24/7 onto my
Yes.
workouts because that helps. But I'm trying not to pluck them. It's like you see that new growth and you're like, oh, I just want to, but I'm trying not to.
Okay, good. Good, good,
So,
good. Um, so we were talking about physical health, which is perfect segue because I wanted to talk a little bit about any changes that you have made to make your life better. And I was kind of guessing that this had to do with your physical health, maybe your
yeah.
HPV surgery. I was thinking maybe it's kind of along
Yeah.
those lines.
Yeah. Starting last year, I started yoga and I started seeing a therapist. And I was doing therapy once a week until maybe, I would say maybe July or August, and then was going to bi-weekly sessions.
Mm,
But it was helping me go through a lot that I've been dealing with in the past and what I'm dealing with in the present, and like my fears and thoughts about the future. But the yoga helped with my flexibility. It helped with um, really bringing me to the present. It's very hard. I still haven't mastered or really put a lot of focus and attention on meditation. My
mm.
mind is buzzing far too much for me to like calm it down. But the
Girl,
yoga,
that's why you need it.
I know, it like that is a challenge that I haven't willingly put myself forward to achieve yet. But the yoga helps to quiet down the mind as long as
Yes,
I like keep my phone away from me. And I'm just because yoga with Adriene saved my life.
I
Okay.
love her.
It is
I
amazing.
love her.
So enjoyable to watch.
Did you
And
do
so
the Breathe series?
I'm still doing the breathe series. So that's exactly where I'm at. Like my roommate Sophia finished the 30-day challenge and I'm still on day 9. And it started in January 2021.
I love that.
I think it was in January, but regardless, it's been like 30 days have passed. I'm still on day 9, and
It's fine.
I'm doing the best that I can. But that really,
Yeah.
and that's a part of the routine thing that like I'm trying to balance between. Because I had a really scary conversation with my roommate. She was like, you literally go to work, you come home, you go to bed, you go to work, you come home, and
Yep.
I'm, oh my god, that's my life. That sounds horrible. And then I cut out smoking completely. When was it? I think maybe like September of October of last year.
Even weed?
Smoking completely. I take edibles, but I
Oh, yes,
don't
yes, yes.
smoke at all.
Good for
Um,
you.
I had to stop smoking because I was preparing for a minor surgery to deal with my HPV, which is something that I've been like dealing with for many, many years now. And it was getting to that point where if I didn't take care of it, and you think of yourself as young and you think of yourself as invincible and you think, your
Yeah.
body is just going to fix itself.
Yeah.
But in reality, you really, really need to do the work to get
Yeah.
your body to be in the place that you needed to. And I wasn't doing the work. I
Mm-hmm.
was taking advantage of my body. I was taking advantage of what I thought was its strengths. And
Mm.
in point of fact, it was feeling defeated and depleted. I had to do an aggressive procedure to take care of the HPV so it wouldn't become like cancer,
Mm.
and I can't smoke because of it. And it didn't feel at the time, it felt like it was going to be a really big sacrifice for me because I, started smoking and indulging in marijuana for a couple of years now, and I've become dependent on it. Uh,
Mm.
I'm still dependent on it, especially on really, really hard days. It's like when I take an edible, it takes me away from every hour that had just passed. Like I
Right.
have to think about my woes and my stresses and my struggles. I'm just like here, I'm melting in my chair. I
Yeah.
want it to be physical. I want it to be like
You're
I
in
just
your body.
I'm in my body.
Mm.
Exactly.
That's good. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Feel
also started yoga too and I remember texting you and we're like, oh my God, yoga with Adrienne. I know. She's so great. Um, it was kind of a way for me to set that sense of routine in my life again when kind of all the routines in our
for
days
sure.
kind of were taken away. So, like, because I was waking up just before like 9 a.m. Whereas when I, and like literally woke up, rolled out of bed, brought my laptop on my bed, and then I'd be like, okay, I'm awake, and like, be on my emails and doing all my work. And I just didn't like that. And I was like, I just don't feel like I'm living like for myself. I feel like I'm just waking up just to do work, which is like just a horrible feeling. So I like would start getting up a little bit earlier, and then I would roll out of bed, and instead of going to my laptop, I would just go turn on yoga with Adriene and like just do a
Yeah.
routine right next to my bed on my yoga mat. And it was just a really nice day to like start the day. In 2020, when I started yoga on my own, I looked at yoga as like another form of meditation, but a more physical form of meditation.
Yeah.
And that's when I really clicked with it. And I felt like the way Adriene guides you through the yoga practice feels more like a physical meditation than let's do this and then let's do that and then let's do,
And you're right.
Yeah. Where like when you go to like Good Life, that's kind of how they do yoga. It's like, oh, we're going to do downward dog and then we're going to do this and then we're going to do that. And it's like,
Yeah.
no one's really telling you what you should be feeling emotionally, what you should be feeling mentally. It's just all about the movements. But when I found Adriene on YouTube, I was like, whoa, this is the first time I actually like felt like synced up with a yoga instructor.
I don't know. She's so personable and like
Yeah.
quirky and down to earth, and it doesn't feel like some instructors, it makes you feel like they're forcing you into a position and
Yes.
be, pat you on, like it's not like you should be patted on the back, but like, they're expected you to perfect this movement. But Adriene just feels like whatever you're doing is enough. Like the fact that you're on this mat today, the fact that you rolled out of bed and you're sitting here and you're listening to this video is enough. And I think that was the most important part is like I felt like I was enough and what I was doing was enough, even as
Yes.
small as that. So
Yeah, I agree. You're one of my most, I would say, holistic friends. Like one of my friends who's very pro. You always have these like really interesting ways of, curing a cold or like, like or like just yoga or things like that. Would you consider yourself anti-Western medicine?
we're diving into this now. Okay. I'm gonna let you know that I'm gonna give all credit to my mother. She is the reason why I have this frame of thinking, and I'm very, very grateful towards it. For a very long time, I didn't understand it as it was like her providing me with these healing resources. But at a certain point, I had to do it for myself and actually
Mhm.
understand the values of it.
Mhm.
I grew up understanding that the earth provides exactly what we need to heal ourselves, except we as westerners, colonizers, whatever, we haven't really tapped into the healing process that, say for example, a lot of indigenous communities, a lot of indigenous cultures do. And it breaks my heart because it's like we have been programmed to rely on Western medicine. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with Western medicine. Western medicine has saved thousands, countless of lives, millions of lives. But I'm saying that as humans, we have the choice to weigh out our options. Like we have the choice to see, okay, I understand that this could be an immediate has an immediate impact on me. I won't feel pain. But does that mean that the pain has gone away completely?
Mm.
It's instant relief. I'm like, okay, I have a headache. I'm going to take an Advil.
Mhm.
Why do I have the headache? Am I dehydrated? Have I
Mm.
not had enough water? Do I have the right nutrients in my body so that I wouldn't get a headache in the future? Am I sleeping well? So these are all aspects that I at least try to consider. However, it's very, very easy to be like, okay, I need to take these pills to supplement or to deal with certain issues. I wouldn't say I'm not going to say I'm against it. I definitely use them. I see the benefits in them, but I would I'd like to continue my life in a way where if I know I'm feeling some type of way, if I'm getting a cold or a flu or anything, like my immediate reaction is to get herbs, roots that are going to help deal with it in the long term versus deal with it in short term.
Right, right. I like that way, that approach that you have. It's like, yeah, think about the reasons, the causes, like before just being quick to put like a band-aid solution or almost
Exactly.
on it. Yeah, because it's like, well, if you're gonna keep having those headaches every day, or every week, you're just going to be popping Advil every week. And like maybe that does cure it, for that time being. But wouldn't you feel sleep better knowing you could really kind of get down to the reason why you're having those headaches? Because then you might never have to take those pills.
I have to listen to my body.
Yeah.
And that is the best gift you can give yourself because you are its healer. You are the
Mm,
person you're looking out for yourself at the end of the day. So you create a relationship with your body where you're like, okay, my joints feel weird today, or I'm feeling like I have, a headache, or I'm feeling aches and pains in certain regions of my body that I'm not used to at the time. You're listening. And so you could take that into effect and find solutions to those problems, but it's a constant journey. Like I'm
yeah.
trying now to consider going on a fully raw 21-day challenge. That's hard. I
That's
don't know if I'm ready
hard.
for that, but it's something that I'm willing to try because I need to clear out my body. It's hard. 21 days raw, like, oh my goodness, how am I gonna do it?
I agree with the intuitive eating. I feel like it's become this like thing. Like people have now call it like intuitive eating where I feel like I've personally gone through multiple like diets almost in a way. Like I was pescatarian for a year. I think my body from that moment on became really sensitive because I think since then now I eat butter, I
Yeah,
eat cheese, I eat meat, but
yeah,
when I have too much of it, or when I have like consecutive meals where it's heavy in meat or it's heavy in dairy or it's
feels it.
just carb heavy, even because of the gluten, I think that my body, I do definitely feel it immediately. Like my mom says this, and I totally live by it. The best way to like know if you're in good health is if you are eating, if you're sleeping well, and if you're pooping well.
I mean, facts.
Facts. So I don't poop well. As soon as that happens, my digestion stops. Like it's
Same.
just, and I have really good digestion on a normal day.
Yeah,
So it's like, okay, something's wrong. I need a good morning poop. And if that doesn't happen, something
it's a
happened.
problem. I know 100%. It's ugh, the it's
It,
just this too gory when
yeah.
it
Corey.
the details should be left out of this entire video. It's
We
not a
need a
fun.
different kind of trigger warning on this video. I mean, you
Yeah.
talked about you started therapy. How's that been going?
I'm a huge advocate for therapy. I think everyone should be in therapy. I think there is no such thing as too small a problem to deal with. I think everyone should have professional help. Um, this is someone that has known me for a very, very long time, and he's based in Lebanon. So we do Skype calls, and it's helped me with my relationships with my friends. It's helped me with my relationships with myself. It's helped me with my relationship with my dad. It's helped me
Mm,
with my relationship with my work. So like sometimes I feel like I don't need it, but other times it's just like it's nice to know that someone is there professionally to dive in just a bit deeper. And
totally.
they give you a bit of homework here and there. It's like, okay, I want you to really look into this, create these lists, see what it is that are the pros and cons about this particular subject or situation. Yeah, I think I'll probably be in therapy for the rest of my life.
No, I love that. And I agree. I think everyone should at least consider therapy. I know that, yeah, like therapy might not be the right, way for everyone because really at the end of the day, you should just be able to express yourself in some way, one way or another.
For sure.
Um, yeah, to like talk about things that you're feeling or at least to unravel some of the stuff that's in you. And it doesn't have to feel like this like horrible thing, and I think for a lot of people it was like in normal times when quarantine wasn't a thing, pandemic
Yeah.
wasn't a thing. It was like I don't want to go to therapy because it's gonna put me in that kind of darker mindset. It's gonna
Something wrong with me.
it's gonna be emotionally heavy, and I don't know if I really want that to impede on my day-to-day life, because people were going to work, had friends to see, you were dating somebody, or whatever, and you don't want that kind of noise almost in the back of your mind. So in a way, it's like right now is probably the best time to try therapy if you've ever considered it, because you're not going anywhere. You're seeing your coworkers through a screen for most people, not in New York, apparently,
Yeah, we're way
not in
back.
America. But yeah, so if you've ever considered it, really, really do encourage it. I think we both are very pro therapy.
Yeah.
Um, one, I wanted to ask you, how are you doing being away from family?
Since moving, I think there was a part of me that always wanted to have a separate life from my family. I
Mm,
always try to see myself outside of the eyes of my family. And so in those moments, I I push that loneliness and that yearning and that miss on this to the side. And then sometimes that works for me, and then other times those feelings that I push to the side come back in waves, and I'm like that yearning and that miss is so much stronger. But
mm,
the time spent apart, and especially the time during quarantine and all the time that I had on my hands, it helped to build stronger relationships with certain members that back in the day I didn't really um put effort or energy into.
mm,
And it's nice to know that you can actually see each other really adapting through these times in different ways, but we're doing it together and we're understanding how vulnerable everyone can be during this period.
yeah.
And I used to feel a level of guilt when I was during my undergrad for not communicating with my family more, not being able to find the words to like talk about what it was that I was doing or what it was that I was going through.
Mm,
That was something that I really wanted to change. I wanted to not just have relationships with family members, but I wanted to create friendships with those family members, you know?
mm,
So
mm,
it's been really rewarding. I think that like me and my mom are in a better place, me and my siblings are in a better place. Um, my relationship with my father is adapting. I wouldn't say it's like it just is right now. It's just kind of floating. I'm trying to like
mm.
still navigate those waters.
Do you want to sort of, talk about your dad and sort of that story?
For anyone that doesn't know, like I haven't seen or spoken to my dad in like over 12 years. And those were like really major years in my life in which I thought that I needed a father figure. But with the therapy and kind of this like internal self-reflection that I've been going through, I've been understanding that there's a difference between your biological father and like a father figure.
Mm,
And has been very difficult to for my brain to comprehend, because in your mind like you see dad
yeah.
and they're supposed to embody what a father's supposed to be, but you can have a biological father who's just like the sperm donor, and then you can have these male figures in your life who've really like helped to nurture and help you grow and challenge you. And
Mm-hmm.
I was bringing it up with my mom earlier today. I was like, I took for granted the male figures that have been present in my life, that have
Mm,
helped to, you know, be there in ways that my dad never was.
mm-hmm.
But I've changed the way I've been communicating with my dad as the years and months go by, because it started off with full rage and anger and disappointment and sadness and loss. And I realized that he, in his own limitations and incapacities and restrictions, he's at that point where he's like, this is just who I am.
Mm,
He might not see the errors. He may not see the error in his ways. No matter like how much I'm screaming at him, like this is what you've done, this is how you fucked up. But I had to reevaluate my goal with him. I had to reevaluate like what is it that I want out of this. And I'm still trying to figure that out, because it's like it's history, it's unresolved history. And I've had to change my tone, because I'm like, I can keep being combative. I
mm,
can keep attacking him and knowing that this is going to keep going around in circles, or I can adjust my tone and adjust the way that I'm communicating with him and see maybe if that will help open him up. And then
Mm.
that puts me in a situation where I'm like, I'm 26 trying to be more of an adult to a person who in my mind is my father and an adult. But
Yeah.
the this part of the journey is more about like letting go and just
Yeah.
accepting those with their limitations and the restrictions, but seeing if it's still worth building upon.
Right.
And I'm still at that point.
I'm so proud of you for being on it though, because I know that that's something was always like a kind of a cloud. And sometimes it would come back. And when I was with you or when we were hanging out, or, you would let me know that you would, it was like a part of you that would only come out in like spurts.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was never something that was like continuously a part of our, conversation, obviously, because it wasn't necessarily a joyous thing to talk about. But at the same time, like the fact that like you're actively working on it, like, man, I'm so proud of you for doing that because that's huge.
It it feels it feels good. It feels good. Like I may have started it at a really inconvenient time because I got in touch with him maybe a day or two before moving to a new city where I knew no one and fuck all. I'm like, yeah, let's just
Yeah.
add more to my plate. I fucking love doing that. But I did. And if I had to do it again, I probably would have changed my approach. But regardless, where I was in 2018 and where I am now is very, very different. And that's what
Yeah.
I ask for at the end of the
Yeah.
day,
I love that. Last few thoughts. We're coming on to the end. If you knew there'd be a pandemic in 2020, so if you knew in 2020, oh, sorry, if you knew that there'd be a pandemic in 2020 on New Year's Eve of 2019, what would you have written down on your list of resolutions? It's a pretty creative question, isn't it?
Yeah, I struggled answering this question because it's gonna take a while.
Take your time. When I thought of this, I was like, oh, that's a good one.
That's a good question. That's deep though. I would have focused less on getting a job
Mm,
enough and focused more on traveling because I actually haven't traveled as much, at least on my own, or taking initiative to be curious about different places to visit, whether it's in the States or abroad. Um, like, I really want to go to New Orleans. I really want to go to Wyoming. I really want to visit Arizona again. Like, I want to go to California. I want to be in a fucking cabin in the middle of the woods for a week and not talk to anyone. I want to be able to have that sense of freedom to go somewhere that isn't my apartment or my fucking work.
I
So
love how this whole conversation came full circle to that.
yeah, literally, like my resolution would be book a bunch of tickets, book a bunch of flights, and go and travel.
Yeah, get the fuck
Because
out of there.
I'm like going crazy right now. Like I want so badly to hop on a flight and go somewhere else for a couple of weeks just for me.
Mm,
I
mm.
travel by myself and kill.
I mean, a lot of people haven't. It's
Yeah.
very many people haven't. It's not very common, I think, for people to just be like, I'm just gonna go somewhere on my own, you know?
Do you have an answer to that question?
I didn't really think of an answer for this one.
I want to know what your resolution was.
I
Or
think
what
I think I think it would be it kind of goes back to what you're saying about like um being friends with like your family members. If I knew that there was going to be a pandemic, I would just move straight away. Beginning of 2020, I'd be here and trying to
yeah.
spend more time with my mom because I feel like, become even closer. And I know a lot of my friends know that I'm close with my mom,
Yeah.
but even my mom and I were talking about this the other day. It's like, I don't think we ever like we would do things together. We were close because people would see that my mom and I travel together. Like my mom and I go to Europe together and and people would be like, "Oh, that's so nice. You're close with your mom that you're able to like travel with her and like, do those things with her." Or I'm able to talk to my mom about some like really deep things, things that I go
Yeah.
through. And in that way we're close. But we weren't close in that like friendly way. I don't think. And I think this year we definitely like developed that.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Or at least like we're starting to develop it. And I'm really happy with it because I feel like now, like even on the weekends, like if I'm upstairs like working on editing one of these, episodes, I miss being downstairs with my mom and my dog. I kind of like, oh, I just want to like finish this really quickly so I can just like chill with them and like sit with them. And I just like I don't think I really, felt that a lot before when I was, younger or even, as a young adult. I don't think I really, because I don't even think I really thought that that was missing in my life because we were so busy. I think I would also write in that resolution to stop caring about being busy or being in demand.
How you spend your time and the value of that.
I realized that all of that busyness that I was so concerned with before really took me away
Yeah.
from what was really important for me and just
Yeah,
completely
we're
distracted me from it.
comparing ourselves we're comparing ourselves to how other people are using their time. Like they're constantly busy working, blah blah blah. But
Yes.
now my greatest gift is allowing myself to sit in my bed. That's
Mm,
that's all I
mm,
can ask for. I'm
mm,
happy doing that. I'm not gonna even fret that I'm not doing enough because I think about why I'm sitting on my bed. Why am I
mm.
sitting on my bed, Mikhail? Because I'm exhausted after everything that I do every day. That's why.
Any last things you want to share with anyone out there, anyone struggling in the world right now? Any advice or just anything that you want to get off your chest?
Ooh, I don't know. I think, well, we all know this. You're not alone. We're not alone in this. I think one thing that I've noticed has come out of this is that there are more people willing to be there for one another, to support, to share those experiences. There's less judgment um, in that, and less judgment in asking for help, knowing that you may or may not need it. And also, I think people should just continue to strive to find what makes them happy. At the end of the day, that's literally the most important thing. You know, whether you get lucky doing something that makes you happy and you get bank out of that, amazing. If you don't get bank out of it, you'll find something else to do. But as long as it makes you happy, then keep doing it. Right,
I
friend?
agree.
Yeah.
Oh, statuaries. Oh my God. So cute. That's definitely going in the thumbnail. I guess I could mention it here. If there is anyone out there who is watching this or listening and you want to have this conversation with me, please message me. I will put my Instagram in the description box below. Oh my God, I hate sounding like that. But you can DM me on Instagram and I will set up a chat with you. This is something that I started just to honestly catch up with my friends, but also to, spread their stories to
Yeah.
people who don't know their stories and for people to just feel like also for my friends to be able to get things off their chest that they've just wanted to talk about or they want people to know about. And so yeah, if you want to chat with me on Small Talk, please DM me, message me, comment me, whatever, and I'll set up a call and we can chat. And you don't have to know me, we don't have to know each other, but we can get to know each other. So thank you, Aya, so much for being here. This has been so lovely.
Honestly, I'm so grateful that I'm on this. It means the world.
Thank you.
Outside of this project, we'll have another 2-3 hour call.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
many to come.
Right.
I'm gonna pause recording.